It is time to wrap up September. Hi, hello, welcome back, and welcome if you are new here. As you guys know, last month I participated in the Wizardly Readathon. Now, things did not go quite to plan in my Wizardly Readathon. However, I was able to post a vlog for every week if you want to check that out. I will try and link them down below. I'm not good at that. Not good at that. I'll just admit it. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not good at linking things. But I did the entire month in vlog form, so you guys can check that out if you want to, or you can just watch the quick wrap up that I'm about to post here. But you might get a little bit more of my thoughts in the vlogs, and I'm bumping the tripod now. Let's see. Okay, in September, it says I attempted 15 books on my tracker. Did I attempt 15? 15 seems high, putting me in at 5,525 pages and DNFing 2. Now, if you guys have seen my latest vlog, you will probably already know that my month came in at an average 3-star. 3-star for what I read during the Wizardly Readathon. And I had one book that I NFN'd, so maybe that is why it's showing 15, because I feel like I didn't read 15 books. But I NFN'd The Blood of the Spear. Reason being is because it's not exactly my taste, but I wanted to try it anyway, but then I kept getting books that I didn't like, and I felt like that was affecting how I was reading Blood of the Spear, and so I kind of just set it aside and said, maybe not now. Let's try for like November or something, because October, I'm already in a readathon. So I didn't have the greatest reading month. But we will get there, and I will talk to you because I did have some that I really did enjoy. In September, I read 4 sci-fi, 2 horror, and the rest were fantasy. Okay, so I'm actually going to talk to you first about the book that I finished last, because if I do not, my tracker will actually hide it from me because I started it in August. Yes, in August. And so it was tracking it for August in my tracker. And that would be The Fractured Dark by Megan E. O'Keefe. I finally finished it. That's what I finished out my reading month with last month. But I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Now, this is the second book in the series following The Blighted Stars, and I have to say, I didn't love it quite as much, and it was tempting to put the book at a 4.5 instead of a 5-star, but really, in comparison to The Blighted Stars, it's a 4.5. In comparison to everything else I read, it's easily a 5-star. And I only started to complain. One, I was having a lot of PMDD issues, so this could have been a factor. But something kept happening over and over. And I was like, are we doing this again? Which, to be fair, if I would have read a chapter more on, I would have realized that event was not happening again. But it kind of just killed my enjoyment of it to where I put it down. And anyway. The thing that I thought had happened had not happened, and I ended up finishing up the book, and it was actually amazing. And so I'm blaming my PMDD for me putting it down. This is going to be a favorite series of all time for me. It's just undoubtedly going to be a favorite series. Next, I read I guess I started the month with The Blood of Crows by Alex C. Pierce. Now, this is one that I liked the story, but the writing style didn't quite work for me. It was a little bit slower paced than what I wanted a thieving story to be. However, I feel like if you're like a beginner fantasy, or if you really like Brandon Sanderson or Michael J. Sullivan, this is a book that you should read because it definitely has that type of writing style, that type of vibe to the story. And those authors just aren't my style. And so it was okay. It was okay. I liked it. I'm not going to say that I hated it, but I can't say that I loved it. I read A Broken Blade. I loved this book. I loved this book. The second book is down there and it's calling me, and I am waiting for Spookoplathon to allow me to pick a dark fantasy, because then I'm gonna go for this one, or the second book in the series. But adored this. Now, in this, we have the King's Blade, and that is Kira, and she is pretty much his assassin. Like, he sends her out whenever he needs someone to be killed. And then she goes on a hunt for this mysterious figure called the Shadow. And in doing this, she ends up in the land of the Fae. Now, she is half Fae herself, and the half Fae, half humans, they're really looked down upon, kind of in both realms, or she's led to believe this is the case. And things start to happen where she figures out that what her kingdom believes might be wrong, and she might be on the wrong side of this war. And I think that this is amazing. It does have a romance in it, but the romance is pretty slow burn. And she has been through a lot of trauma. And so the romance, the love interest, the romantic love interest, I was trying to get there, but my brain didn't want to go there, is keenly aware of her trauma and what she's been through and doesn't push. And I like that. I really like that. But I'm so excited to continue this. I want more already. I wanted to pick up the second book when I was finished with this. However, when I binge read series, I get bored. So I did not want to get bored. Next, I read one that really surprised me, and that would be Blood of an Exile by Brian Naslund. Now, this one has science, and it's fantasy, and it's ecological stuff, and I liked that a lot. And I really enjoyed the main character. I enjoyed the female figure that's in this that kind of gets to take center stage a little bit and show off her intelligence. I mean, there's just so much I love about this, so much. And I was very pleasantly surprised. Again, I kind of went into this blind because I don't know anybody who's read it. And I did find out that after I said this and then I posted that I was reading it, I actually do know a lot of people who've read it. They just don't talk about it. And so I was just like, okay. And everyone's like, I love that series. And I'm like, how did this slip through the cracks for me? Anyway, the main character here, he is a dragon slayer. For every dragon slain, he gets a tattoo, and that is part of his exile. He's branded whenever he completes a mission, all that stuff. But I really love this. And the dragons dying off is causing an ecological disaster. And the person who figures that out is the princess of this world. So it's really cool. And then she convinces the exiled dragon slayer to go on a mission to stop everybody from killing dragons. So we do see dragons in this book. That don't be disappointed that you won't be encountering dragons, because you will. But I really enjoyed this. And like I said, very pleasantly surprised. I would recommend this. I'm very excited to get to the next one. I have it in my chance cards for my Spookopoly board. So great series. Great start of a series. And then I got an arc for the Water Outlaws, and unfortunately it had some very triggering things for me, so I had to DNF it. I didn't get very far before I realized this was going to be a very big problem, and I couldn't handle it. And so I just said no thank you and sent my issues into NetGalley to let them know why I wouldn't be completing the book. Then I read Neon Gods. Okay, so yes, this is erotica. So do not go into this unless you're ready for some erotica. But this is a Hades and Persephone retelling that's actually really good. I enjoyed this so much. And I think the reason that I really enjoyed this is Persephone herself is a very strong character. And watching her come into her own in this book was really great. She's a very empowered Persephone. And so I liked that there didn't seem to be such an imbalance of power between Persephone and Hades for this one. I mean, obviously there's going to be whenever it's the king of the underworld, but it was great. It was really well written, and the romance was really well done. And her reason for escaping Olympus is slightly different than the original tale, but I liked it. And I liked the escape route she took. So just fantastic. I would highly recommend this if you like erotica, because this does push the spice level quite high. And then I read The Last Smile in Sunder City by Luke Arnold. At first, I was really loving it. I was really loving the narration of it, and I was really loving the slower pacing to it, and the way that Fetch Phillips, the way he was narrating the story. I liked getting the story from him. But then it just became like 300 pages of just the same, nothing really happening. And I got really, really bored. I know things start to happen, and that we get big events coming towards the end, but by that time, I just didn't care. I didn't care. And so, unfortunately, the entire series has left my house already. I do not own it anymore, but I did get some credit at the buy-sell trade when I went to the buy-sell trade for it. Yeah, that's where I landed with that one. And then Shattered Spirits by Cal Black. I love this. I still want to write fan fiction for it, guys. There's an ending that I want. Not that the ending of this is bad, but I want more. There's a story that I need to watch play out or have play out. And if I have to write it, fine, I will. And once you read it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But in this novella, and it is very short, we do have a bomb that has been dropped on an island that has the ability to separate souls from their bodies. That's all I'm going to tell you, point blank period, because it's so short. You need to read and find out. This is one of, I believe, 2 novellas that I've given 5 stars. It's fantastic. I really love how Cal can set like this super creepy atmosphere, but that's not it though either. Like, there's so many things that she uses to draw you in, and I think the main character's plight is one of them. I believe that like talk of gods living under an island is one of them, but like so many things that just pull you in and make you keep reading. And I love this. And if you guys don't know, Cal Black is the author of No Land for Heroes, right up there. Love that series too. Well, I've read the first book of that and this, and guess what, guys? 4.5 and 5 stars. So no port in a storm needs to happen. But highly recommend this novella if you have not yet read it. And then, you know, right on the heels of that, my other 5-star, The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. Now, I talked a lot about this in my vlog, so I'm going to be a little bit more brief. But we have people, everyone, over the age of 21. So on your 22nd birthday, you receive a box on your doorstep that has a string in it, and that string is the measure of your life. And this is about what happens to politics, what happens to relationships, what happens to marriages, all of that stuff. Like, when now you know how long you have left to live. And this is a very intimate view of all of that stuff, because I talked about there's a soldier's perspective in here and what that looks like for him and his buddy. One's a long stringer, one's a short stringer, what they have to go through. There's a lesbian couple in here that what they have to go through, because one of them's a long stringer, one of them's a short stringer. We have a couple in here who, I don't want to tell you that because it's a little spoilery. Anyway, what happens to society? What happens to politics? What happens to relationships? Now that we know this, because you have a long string, do you just have carte blanche to do whatever you want to do? Like, can you experiment with drugs now? Because you know you're going to live a long life. Can you go rob a bank? Because you know you're going to live a long life. Like, all of these things, like, they're so beautiful. And the ending of this book is so cute. I said I cried. Well, you could probably tell in the vlog that I had been crying, but I cried. The ending of this book got me so hard in the feels. And it's just such a great way to show that even though you have no idea how long you have left to live, your life can still be fulfilling. It's so good. It's so good. So good. Next, I picked up Cold from the North. And again, I do not own the book. I took it to the buy-sell trade. So the first like 30% of this book was so good, so good. I was like, oh dang, I am in for a new favorite author. And from what I had heard, from what I had heard from everybody that had read it, they were like, you're gonna like this, you're gonna like this. And I'm like, okay, cool. I think I even put it on 5-star predictions from all I'd heard about it. However, at about the halfway point, the plot just falls off. And I was like, okay, like 30% of it was just banger. I loved that first 30%. And then things started to happen. I'm like, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? Okay, well, why are we doing this? Well, why are we going here? Why are we doing this? And then the plot just it fell off completely. And so I really didn't like the second half of the book at all. And I ended up giving it 3 stars anyways because I did like the writing. I saw the potential in the book. I'm not a character driven reader, and everything that I hate about the character driven stuff, it totally happened in the second half of that book. And so I was like, no, this is not the book for me. I have got to put this book down. No. So that was disappointing. And then I read Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Canas. Now, I was disappointed in this book as well, but for a very different reason. So whenever I read The Hacienda by her, got a gothic novel that I absolutely loved, knew what I was going into, knew what my expectations were. I've read Rebecca quite a few times. My friend Izzy bought me a beautiful copy of Rebecca for my birthday last year. Yes. And so, I knew The Hacienda going into it, what I was getting into. This one, I feel like the marketing was very poorly done because this is a historical romance. Just because there's vampires in the title, don't let that throw you. This is not a horror novel. And that's what I was expecting, especially with vampires in the title and the fact that it said that vampires and Mexican cowboys would be going at it, vaqueros. And I felt really let down, really let down. But the story itself is actually really good. It's really good. It's really beautiful. I love the relationship between the main character and her love interest, except if you are put off by miscommunication, don't read this book. Do not read this book. I do think that hurt it a little bit, in my opinion, as well. Like, the miscommunication was fierce in this book. But yeah, just go into it knowing it's a historical romance, and it is not horror. Something horrific happens that is the catalyst to the story, but other than that, it's historical romance. And the reason that I know that I would have loved it if they would have just told me it was historical romance is because I love historical romance. Spellbreaker by Charlie and Holmberg. That's why it's so cute. I really, really enjoyed this. I ended up buying the second book immediately, and I don't know if this is going to go up first or if my book haul is going to go up first, but you'll see that I have purchased this book already. The second one to this one, but it's so good. It's so good. It's so cute. The orphaned Elise Camden learned as a girl that there were 2 kinds of wizards in the world: those who pay for the power to cast spells, and those like her, born with the ability to break them. But as an unlicensed mage user, her gift is a crime. Commissioned by an underground group known as the Cows, Elise uses her spell breaking to push back against the aristocrats to help the common man. She always did love the tale of Robin Hood. Now, that last line was what sold me on the book in the first place, and that plays out very, very well. I don't want to get into spoilers, but oh my gosh, that storyline, it got me. It got me. And I'm very excited to continue to the next one and the cinnamon roll love interest that is in this book, because I really like him. I really do. And then I tried to read A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe. Maybe I did get to 15 and DNF'd a lot more than I actually said on my tracker because I DNF'd this one too. I have decided that I do not like Alex White's characters. I don't like them. The main character in this one was pretty narcissistic, and I deal with that, or have dealt with that a lot in my life, and have no desire to read a character with those traits. And so I was really put off to the main character of this story really early on, and I was like, Firefly, where's the Firefly vibes? That's what I came here for. That is not what I'm getting. So I was pretty disappointed, and I ended up DNFing that one. It didn't count towards my readathon, which, by the way, I did read my 8 books for the readathon. I did get my 8 reviews in, but I missed the buddy reads that could have earned me 2 more points, because Blood of the Spear, I ended up NFNing, and then I didn't read Legend by David Gemmell, which was the one that I was going to read for the readathon. And so, yeah. Okay, and then to break up the fact that I was bogged down in all these DNFs and all of these low-rated books, I just needed something fun. I needed to pick up something that would entertain me, and I did. I really enjoyed this book, Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller. I had heard that Trisha Levenseller, her writing is just captivating, and let me tell you, it is. It is one of those that, once you start reading, it's very hard to put down. But this is about a girl who is betrayed whenever she is going into a competition to take her place in her village. And this is very Norse centered, even though it's not directly Norse related. Like it has those vibes. And when she fails this competition, she is exiled. And in exile, she comes across a couple of other exiles, and they decide amongst themselves that they are going to help each other fulfill their quest so they can get back to their families. That's the gist of it. But I adored this so much. I adored this. I think that this is probably, like, not as far as ratings, but one of my favorites that I read in the month of September. But like, just because it's sticking with me, like, I adore it. I adore it. It's so good. It's so good. The writing is a little young, and I do think that sometimes the characters act a little young, but the story itself, fantastic, fantastic. All right, that is it for me today. Like, subscribe if you would like, and if you would like to connect with me in any other way, I have a Linktree link in the description down below. Bye.